Hey friends, welcome to the Johnson City Living Podcast, where we learn about the people, places, events, and flavors that make Johnson City a lovely place to live. It is a beautiful, a little bit chilly January morning here in Johnson City on the podcast. I'm here with one of my favorite people in the whole world. He's one of the reasons that I'm here and can podcast with you guys and why I'm in Johnson City. So welcome to the podcast. My dad, Dr. David Johnson from the Colin College of Medicine. And I'm just hoping and looking forward to you guys getting to know my dad and learning about the med school and all that has happened in the last 45 years. So thanks for coming on the podcast, Dad.
Good to be here. Sorry about my DNA. You got a little of it.
I got just half. I got the good half.
Yeah. Well, right. Actually, you get more than half. You get all your mitochondrial DNA from your mom, and that provides you all your energy.
Oh, okay.
The mitochondria make the power, make the ATP that make your muscles move. Okay?
Really?
Yeah. So
that's why I'm a go-getter, because Mom's feisty. I
right.
Like it.
Oh, yeah.
She's a workhorse.
You're lucky in that regard.
That's right. I feel like I got some good mitochondria from you too. But
it's not. No, you didn't get mitochondria from me.
This is why I didn't go into the chemistry world.
That's right.
So
it's not the Quillen Dishner College.
It's not anymore. That's right. It's just
Quillen College of Medicine.
Yes, sir.
Named after James Quillen, the congressman here back when it was started.
Yeah, okay. Jimmy Quillen, right?
Jimmy Quillen. He was a long-term congressman in here, so he was good.
Did lots of good stuff for us.
Did a lot of good stuff for us, right?
Yeah.
So the College of Medicine was founded through an act of Congress called the Teague-Cranston Act.
Okay.
And Teague was a Republican congressman from California.
Okay.
And Cranston was the Republican senator from California. And they came up with the idea of creating medical schools in association with VA hospitals to improve medical care for veterans. Cranston was on the Senate Committee for Veterans. He was the head of that.
Oh, cool.
And so they passed this act that would provide federal funds that would then have to be matched by state funds to start medical schools. And they started 5. They started one at ETSU, one at Wright State University, Texas A&M, Marshall, and South Carolina, Columbia. So
cool.
There are only 5. They didn't start any in California.
That is interesting.
So these 2 guys from California started this, one Democrat, one Republican, and it was unanimously passed by both houses of Congress.
Wow.
And signed by Richard Nixon.
Nice.
President Richard Nixon at the time. Yeah. Okay. Now to get it accepted in Tennessee, the medical school had to be have the VA where it was associated would have to have land on which to build. And the VA in Memphis had given away its land and only had a city block building downtown.
But they already had a med school, right?
They had a med school down there.
So they didn't need one.
They didn't need one.
Gotcha.
We needed one up here because we did not have enough physicians in this area. And this is Appalachia. So
right.
So there was a big fight for it. Knoxville wanted it, but they didn't have a VA with land either. Okay. And so this was a good place to put it. The problem is that this end of the state was very Republican. The rest of the state was very Democratic. All right. But we had a Republican governor at the time, Winfield Dunn. Now the bill for the thing, the local people up here fought for it were D.P. Culp, who was the president of ETSU at the time, Congressman James Quillen, State Senator Marshall Nave, State Representatives Palma Robinson, Bob Good. You might be interested to know that Bob's daughter, Kathy Street, lived down the street from us. Kathy and Mike.
Okay? Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And her daughter-in-law actually works at the College of Medicine now. So
that's cool.
In admissions. Yeah. And Gwen Fleming, plus Dr. Charles Ed Allen, local physician, and many others in the community just fought for this medical school.
Cool.
And so it eventually passed in 1974, but was vetoed by Governor Winfield Dunn. He was Republican now, all right? And he vetoed it because he was also a dentist and had gone to UT Memphis and he was afraid that UT would lose out if we started another medical school.
He must not have driven up here and realized that it's 500 miles away.
Right. Yeah. I don't think so.
He probably hadn't been
Okay.
up here.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, the Senate overrode the governor's veto by an 18-13 vote in March the 6th. The House needed only to follow suit to enact the law that would make a freestanding medical school at ETSU a reality. Representative Palmer Robinson, and part of the new Boones Creek Road is named for him and his wife, who followed him as a representative. To collect, he needed to get at least 50 votes to supersede Governor Dunn's veto. On March the 12th, the state legislature overrode the governor's veto by a vote of 51-37, with the decisive vote being cast by Speaker of the House, Ned McWhirter, Democrat. All right. He carefully watched all the votes as they were being tallied. They have an electronic system to do that. And when he had 50, he locked it in. And then he cast the deciding vote, 51, to push it through.
Nice.
And interestingly, the mayor of Memphis, where I was originally from, Henry Loeb, was standing at the back of in the door of the house, glaring at McWhirter, and he had declared that if McWhirter passed this, he was going to end his political career. Well, Loeb went on to be a tractor salesman in West Arkansas, and McWhirter became a two-term governor.
Yeah.
Right? And McWhirter was a really good governor. He extended I-26 up to the top of the mountain to North Carolina state line at Sam's Gap before North Carolina. Several years before North Carolina did their side on the other side. Yeah. So he was a really good governor for us. Now, so Quillen has now produced 2,277 MDs.
2,277 MDs. Yeah. And you have taught how many of those?
All except maybe one or two transfers that transferred in. Okay.
How awesome is that?
In the third after the first year.
Yeah.
Yeah. And McWhirter spoke at the graduation of the first class in 1982. Back then, the first class was only 24. There were 22 men and 2 women. In the last 5 years, we now have had more women than men in medical schools.
Yeah, you were telling me about this.
And that's not only here, but it's nationwide. So we're getting more women going to medical school. And part of that is that men aren't graduating from college. There are about 1.4 women graduating from college for every man. I was interviewing a young lady for medical school yesterday, and she was telling me, "Yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of her classes at UT and the sciences had a majority of women." So,
what do you think's driving that?
I don't know. That's what I'd like to figure out. We need men too. I mean, you need men and women in medicine.
Good, healthy balance.
You need a balance, right? And the balance is not awful lot, but it is some.
And it's trending. It's trending
that way. Yeah.
Well, that's And so you have watched the med school develop and grow, and now how many students do you guys have?
We take 79 a year now.
And we just upped that a little bit, right?
We were at 72 for several years. We started out at 24, went to 36, 48, and 60, and then we went to 72, and then we've gone to 79. So we were able to increase it by 10% last year. So,
how many of the graduates do you see? I know a lot of them have to go in, you match and you go into residency somewhere all over the country. And then how many of them are coming back? Because I know quite a few that have gone to school here and they're returning because they love the area.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. My primary care physician is a Colin grad. My dermatologist is I've had three dermatologists that are all Colin grads, and I've had my ophthalmologist as a Colin grad. So I've had a number.
You've gotten the benefits of them and their studies.
And when I have an opportunity, I choose them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, and so to that point, we have a lot of people who call me and ask about, hey, we're thinking about retiring in the East Tennessee area. What is like the medical community like? And so I say we have a great med school here. We've got a VA. We've got a lot of physicians, a lot of research happening. it's a great place to retire, and pretty much anything you need, you can have a specialist for, right? Is
Yeah,
that, am I?
it's getting a lot better. When we first moved here, there there were no all the pediatric practices were closed. Fortunately, we had some pediatric physicians in the College of Medicine that had just come when we did. And so you got your first exam on a conference room table before they even had offices, because you had to have a physical for school that year. So,
I was wondering, did
for
you drop
ki-
me,
for
maybe
kinder-
hit
for-
my head on that?
yeah, for kindergarten or first grade. I forget which you started first. I think kindergarten that year.
Was that Dr. Michael?
Yeah, Dr. Michael.
Dr. Mary Michael.
Dr. Mary Michael. She was great.
So tell me, I mean, I know I'm just gonna, all this is weird because I ask all these same questions to a lot of the
Yeah.
people that I interview, but I know you very well. So, you were born in Memphis,
Right.
and then where'd you go to school in Memphis?
University of Memphis, which was Memphis State back then. Go
Yep.
Tigers, go.
Woo.
Yeah.
And then I was born right around the end of graduation, I think, and we went to Georgia.
Right. Moved to Georgia, spent 5 years down there doing postdoctoral research. And then I also was on the research faculty for a few years, had my own grants. And then we moved up here in 1978.
When the med school started.
Just before the med school started, right?
Nice.
I mean, we moved in on the 4th of July, and I started teaching in August. So.
Now, my grandfather, he wasn't a biochemist. He built fire engines for the city of Memphis and the fire department there. Yeah. How does, just looking back, how does a son of a fire engine builder, fireman, become a biochemist? Like, where does that interest come from? Do you know?
I don't know entirely. My mother's side of the family was more educated than my father's side. My father's side, I was one of 13 grandchildren of my dad's parents, and only one other one was college educated. He was a pharmacist. He had fought in World War II. He was younger. Well, he was about, I think, a little older than my dad actually, but then he worked as a pharmacist in Lexington, Tennessee until he was 92 or something. You know?
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
That Mr. Petty?
No, that was
golf.
I can't remember right now.
Okay.
I remember.
Gotcha. And so you feel like maybe that floated down through the.
On the other side, there were only 3 cousins. I had 2 cousins on the other side. There were only 3 of us, and the family really supported education. I have I had one cousin a year older than me, and he died in an accident. But he was a school teacher.
Okay.
In a high school in Jackson, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
And his brother, George, went on to be a physician and a neurologist, stroke specialist at the Mayo Clinic. And George just retired. Had a nice conversation with him yesterday, actually.
Oh, cool. I'm glad he's doing well.
He has 2 children doing well. So
yeah, neat. So you feel like it may have floated down through your grandmother's mitochondria somewhere.
Maybe so.
So you've watched Johnson City develop over the last 44 years, something like that. We've been here. Tell me what you've been excited about watching happen in Johnson City over the last 40 years.
Well, we've grown a lot. The roads have improved a lot. I mean, you can now get to. Used to be you and all the kids would throw up on the snake of a road going up to Asheville.
I remember that. It was a windy trail,
windy little road going up there. It was it was not good. So we now have nice interstates. We have it's a growing place. It's doing well. It's just a great, beautiful place to live. I'm so happy that we moved here. Of all the places we could have chosen. I mean, we don't have hurricanes. We don't have tornadoes. We don't have 6 feet of snow in the winter. And we don't have terribly hot summers.
No.
And we have plenty of water, fresh water,
Mm-hmm.
which is a major resource that people just don't appreciate unless they live in Arizona.
Right. Yeah. I feel very blessed to have grown up here. And I know there were times you had, probably had job opportunities you could have left, but you chose not to.
Yep.
And so tell me why, some of the favorite things about our area that you love and why you wouldn't want to leave.
Well, one of the things is we joined a really good church. We joined Boone's Creek Christian Church. which is the oldest Christian church in Tennessee, founded in 1825. And it's a small church, maybe about 200 at the time we joined it years ago, and it's grown dramatically. We have about 1,000 people attending weekly now.
You started, did the guys sit on one side and the girls on the other? Is that right?
That I wasn't when I was there. No, we had moved.
It wasn't that old.
It's not quite that old, but that used to be the way they had. They had two doors actually in the front. Men went in one door and women went in the other door.
See, I listen a little bit occasionally.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Okay. But so that's changed a lot. But but it's good church, and we do a lot of good things. So it's been a pleasure to work with those people. They've been very accepting us as their family. I mean, we had no family up here because it was most of our family is in Memphis, West Tennessee, and so it was good to have family here.
Yeah, I think I have just great memories of Boone's Creek growing up there, and I keep coming back to the people. I mean, it's the people here that make our region just an amazing place to live. I feel like we truly follow the model of Jesus. We love each other, take care of each other, sacrifice for each other. I just want to genuinely help people. And I think you feel that when you get here. I know all the people that I've helped move here, they're all like, this is just great. What are some other things you love about Johnson City?
Well, it's, we live in Jonesboro, and of course, Jonesboro has, a lot of storytelling, National Storytelling Center. I enjoy that. I've enjoyed that a number of times. They also have music on the square Friday nights, but in the summer, and that's just great. You can take your lawn chair and sit out in front of the courthouse and listen to a band play, and they'll pass a hat, and you can put $5 or $10 in it, and great time.
And it is a quintessential little downtown. It is just beautiful. They've done a great job keeping it historic, and just really, it's just a great place. So come check out Jonesboro.
We just need more. We need more fine dining restaurants down there, though. We're sort of short on
fine dining,
good restaurants. We had one or two, and they left. So
gotcha. I think there's one opening soon.
Maybe,
yeah. Well, there's one close to us, I know, called Juniper. It looks like they've been working on it for a while. It's where the Pacific Pacific was Cafe Pacific.
But we're close to the ridges. And that was built. One of the guy is actually on the farm. One of the guys we went to church with, Bo Dyer. He was a nice guy.
Yeah. And so that was part of his farm. And the Ridges, now the Blackthorne Club, it's a local country club that has a great golf course, and facilities there are fantastic. And that's where we love to play golf. So, come check that out too. So, you and Mom like to hike a lot too, I think, right? And
so we used to hike more, but we still walk a lot. I try to get at least 5,000 steps a day. So sometimes we get more.
Well, you guys are staying young and spry. So is that the key? Is that what
you got to keep moving, and you got to watch what you eat as well. So we try to do both of them. So.
Yeah, I remember you used to run a lot when I was a kid.
I did run until I wore out one of my hips.
But you got that resurfaced. You're good to go now.
Yeah. I got a big piece of metal in there.
Yeah. So I was thinking about you when I was running the other day. I just what gave you that drive to say, hey, I want to take good care of myself. I want to, because there are a lot of people that aren't physically active, and our area is a fantastic place to do it. And so,
well. Part of it was there are a number of people colleagues at ETSU that ran.
Okay.
And we also had the mini dome, which had a nice track has a nice track inside. And you could run in there in the winter, which was nice.
Yes.
So when it was really cold, and we used to have, when we first moved here, I did not have a snow shovel till I moved here, and I had to get a couple, because
I remember operating one of those.
Yeah. I was talking to one of my friends in Sunday school Sunday, and I was asking him where he's from. He was from upstate New York, and he said he put a snow shovel on the top of his car and drove south until somebody asked him what it was.
I like that. I had a guy from Chicago come, and he was like, I've got a snowblower. How many days a year am I going to have to use that thing? And I was like, if I were you, I would sell the snowblower because you get maybe
sell it in Chicago.
Yes,
Yeah.
right. You get maybe a dusting here or there, but you're not going to get any money for it.
Well, we used to get a lot. It was, we used. I mean, I can remember. You can remember times, and you built snow forts out
Oh
in the
man,
neighborhood.
yes, we would
Yeah.
play for week. I mean, it would be a week. You'd have a snow that was ankle deep or knee deep for me at that point. But I was a little guy, so yeah. When just sledding and I mean, it's a great the winter time here was it's not bad, but we have enough snow to make it look beautiful. Remind you that it's just a great place to live, and I love the snow. So we had some of that last week actually, and there's still some remnants of it hanging out, which is odd because it's been pretty chilly this week.
Yeah, we talked to some friends up in Spruce Pine yesterday. They got 20 inches up there.
Oh wow,
yeah,
that's pretty good. I think some more is coming tonight too, maybe.
Yeah.
So, what do you see like in Johnson City's future over the next 5, 10, 20 years? What do you see happening for Johnson City? And then you can go over to the med school, and I know you're involved there in the VA. And what do you see happening?
Well, I think we have an excellent VA, and it serves our veterans really well, and that's one of the reasons we get people moved. I have friends that moved here from San Diego because they looked at the area and decided, well, he was a veteran, he was a naval officer, and moved here. And we have other people, Air Force as well, at our church that have retired here because of the VA and the environment, and it's a nice place to live.
You may be able to speak to this. I heard that Greenville and Johnson City had the opportunity, maybe Greenville had the opportunity first. So Greenville's west of us, about 30 miles. They could either get the VA, the Veterans Administration, or they could have the federal courthouse.
Oh.
They chose the federal courthouse, which opened up the VA for Johnson City. So Johnson City chose the VA, which looking back now, 65, 75 years or 100 at that point, probably, it was a really great decision because then you got the university came in kind of conjunction. So, and I hear we have one of the largest landmass VAs in the country, which is
it was very
cool.
large. I mean, they used to have their own farm and dairy and everything, and even had a jail, for some of the guys when they didn't behave themselves. But it was, the VA was, one of the reasons they started it was right after the Spanish-American War and after the Civil War. There were a number of veterans that needed to be cared for in different ways. They had a lot of amputees and things, and so a lot of them would live here. And I can remember when we first moved here, there were still a number of guys that lived here, and I remember one little guy would sit out on the bench and play his banjo in the afternoons. But it was a good place, and they took care of Confederate, mainly for Northern veterans, and this was a Northern supported area. But they took care of the Confederates as well, because usually by the time they sent the paperwork to Washington and got any report back that they weren't a veteran, they were either well or passed on. So
yeah, and it was called Mountain Home at that point, right?
Yeah, Mountain Home.
And still has its own zip code and everything.
Still has its own zip code and its own post office. And that post office, apparently, the guy there that runs it tells me it makes money for the.
It's one of the few that making money.
It's making money, yeah.
That's great. Well, it's okay. So sorry I jumped in. What do you see for the med school in the future, you think?
I think we'll continue to grow, probably reach out. There was, whether we have some of our students actually go down to Sevierville to do a community experience down there. I think we'll see more of that. We'll see more. We have the rural track where we go to our students spend one day a week in Rogersville or Mountain City, and that's a really good program. That will expand, and maybe more students won't spend as much time up there, but they'll spend some.
Mm-hmm.
Getting to learn what it's like to practice in a small rural town.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I've got a friend who goes to Norton. We have a little small ER up there. He goes up there to work all the time, and that was kind of the impetus of the whole deal, is to go out into the rural communities and take care of our citizens, because we have some kind of bigger cities like Kingsport and Bristol and Johnson City, but for the most part, everybody's kind of spread out. It's pretty rural. Yeah. There's 1 million people around, and they're only like 75,000 in Johnson City city limits. So there are a lot of people that live out in the county and country, up in the hills and hollers and that kind of place. And so, they need medical care. And I think that's great that you guys have that rural tract to go go help them out.
Yeah, that was started by a grant from the Kellogg Foundation years ago. Dr. Paul Stanton was instrumental in getting that to do that, and we had to change things around, which was not easy for some people because instead of teaching 5 days a week, we only teach 4 in the first 2 years. So the 1 day a week they're gone.
I gotcha.
Okay,
I see. Yeah, that would make it a little more challenging. You got to squeeze it in.
Got to squeeze it. Had to squeeze it in some places. So
and they have to study extra hard on those 4 days if they're in. Yeah,
but it was good, and so not all of them go into rural medicine. Some of them become surgeons and other things, and so it's but we need doctors that are willing to go in small areas, and so we're number one in rural medicine, I think, and we're very high up in primary care. We have a lot of people that stay in primary care.
Yeah. And I think that's one other thing that's cool is if you looked at the rankings of all the med schools across the country, right?
Right.
You guys continue to be well ranked over and over and over.
Yeah, we work at it because, and the admissions committee looks carefully at the things. And we're very veteran friendly as well,
right,
because we're at a VA. And veterans can, even if they're living in Alaska, they can claim Tennessee citizenship and not have to pay out of state tuition. So,
oh wow, that's nice.
Yeah, so they when they come out of the military, they can choose what state they live in. Okay.
So you've taught 2,200 students.
Yeah.
And interviewed probably 10,000, right? And
not quite,
but let's say 5,000. Yeah. So what are some, just for people who are listening to the podcast who are like, maybe I'm thinking about med school, right? What are some things that they need to be thinking about considering? What are some questions that you're going to ask and say, hey, have you thought about this? And how do you kind of help them decipher whether med school is right for them? And at that point, they may already have said, hey, I'm going no matter what. I'm just trying to get into one of your schools, but
yeah. Yeah. Well, they really need to start it back in almost junior high, taking science and courses and loving science. They've got to be curious and want to learn stuff like that, which is not true for everybody. And we need, what makes the world go round is diversity.
Right.
And then they need in high school to do well, and then when they go to college, they need to take a major in they don't need a major in all the sciences, but they need to take the major sciences like organic chemistry, biochemistry, physiology, basic chemistry, basic biology, all of that
anatomy,
stuff.
That kind of thing.
Some anatomy, some schools now have that as well. So, but they need to, we look for volunteerism, people that are interested in helping others. Mm-hmm. The number of people who will work in things like RAM festivals, which is a rural access to medicine that's based in Knoxville, Tennessee.
Oh, okay.
And so they run those things. They do one out at the fairgrounds here and up in Wise, Virginia, and a lot of other places. So they can help to give medical care to people that don't have health insurance.
Gotcha.
So,
so you're kind of looking for a history of giving and being a care provider and.
Yep. Right. Loving other people and showing it in some way.
Right.
So, okay.
Not just about you.
And try to gain some medical experience. They can get experience like being an EMT, being a CNA, which is a nurse assistant, mm-hmm. nursing assistant, and, people that are willing to get in the trenches and do the hard work.
Right. Yeah. The heavy lifting stuff.
Yeah.
For sure. What do you see for ETSU in the next 10, 20 years?
Well, we're one of the only schools that has a college of public health and medical school and pharmacy school. So we have a lot of things going in that area, and I think that we'll grow even more, and it'll be a really good mix of opportunities for people to come here and grow and serve the region, okay, and serve the state.
Gotcha.
So we need public health is a real important thing. As we've seen in the pandemic, it's you need early decisions on what's coming down the pipe and what people might be infected with and how to treat it and stuff. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think tuitions continue to grow. I think when you got here, how many students did ETSU have?
We had we had almost as many as we do now, about 11, 12,000.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
a
it
lot.
hasn't grown in huge numbers. I think I
No,
was thinking it was kind of swelling some, but maybe
it
not.
it went up close. They were shooting for 18,000, but I don't think we've made it yet. So
Okay.
I think we'll grow even more. So
Yeah. Do you see, I mean, I know I went to college a little bit to grow up. Do you, so my concern with the future and everybody streaming and online media or, online teaching and that kind of thing, do you worry about the brick and mortar school buildings and kind of the physical institution in the future, or what do you see that way?
that's an interesting thing. Is what'll happen. You can learn a lot of stuff on the internet,
Yeah.
and there are several companies now that make essentially programs that to teach medicine online.
Hmm.
Um, Now you need the hands-on and you need the mentoring that goes with that to make it really successful. But a lot of the basic information that can be learned online. And we actually flipped our classes several years ago. Biochemistry used to be one of the least liked courses in medical school, and this school and any other school, because we stand up and lecture about these crazy molecules like ATP and DNA and RNA
All
and
the protease inhibitors
the
that.
protease inhibitors and stuff.
Hmm.
But so what happened is that we flipped it, and so we now record our lectures. I put all mine on YouTube, and they're unlisted, so only the students know where to look for them.
Gotcha.
But the so they can look at read listen to my video, and I've learned to break them up instead of having them 45, 50 minutes long. I break them up to less than 15 minutes
Right.
because TED Talks are less than 18 minutes.
There you go.
So the that works real well, and we give them notes as well. But one of the things we did is we went to team-based learning about 4 or 5 years ago, and in team-based learning, they have a quiz every day, a 10-question quiz they take individually. They don't see their score, they don't see their which ones they missed,
Hmm.
and then they take it again as a group of 6 or 7. And in that group of 6 or 7, they teach each other, and they will make 100 in the group
Almost every time.
almost every time in the group.
I read something about that or heard something about that every like probably 15 years ago that there would be kids that would be reading it like say they're in fourth grade and they're reading at a second grade level, and then their kids are reading it like a sixth grade level.
Right.
When they put them all together, all the kids start reading at the sixth grade level when they're in fourth grade, just
Right.
because it raises the boat.
Yeah, it's sort of that's the same sort of thing. And the kids that are they also the sort of magic happens in that group, and they they can measure their ability and knowledge versus the other members of the group, and they don't want to fall behind. So
Right.
they want to be a good contributor to the group, good team player, and so they will work a little harder to learn the things they need to learn. We then and it counts very little. I mean, our course has like, 20 of these or over 20 of these daily quizzes, and they only count 10% total anyhow of their grade.
Oh,
So
wow.
and so you average the group score and the other score, so they can make a 50 and a 100, they 75. So they're so it's no problem. But they learn. It's an active learning process, not a passive learning. Passive learning is just standing up and lecturing,
Right.
and that's deadly.
Old model.
Old model. And so we now have gone to active learning, and the whole curriculum's going that way next year.
And so with that, it would be hard to do that online without a brick and mortar where you're sitting with other classmates in a class, and it'd pretty difficult, right?
We did it really well by Zoom this past year.
Okay, so you're
because
grouping them up in Zoom.
yeah, because we can bring the whole class in their own screen, and we watch them because there are 4 of us, and we can keep up with all the students of the class. And then they all have to have their videos on, and then we break them out into groups of 6, and so they can go in. The Zoom automatically will break them out, and they go in to talk to the group, and then they come back with their answers.
Gotcha.
So we talk about now in class time, actual together, we talk about clinical scenarios such as different diseases that have genetic defects and things like that they need to learn, and and then we ask them what we call clicker questions, which are audience response things that the group does. And so they do that as a group, and then they come back together, and each individual group will talk about why they chose different answers. And we try to make the answers very close so that they'll have a discussion. And that's
cool.
where the learning happens, is they see how other people think about it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, use the same information they're using.
Yeah, that's cool. So you feel like we're going to continue to grow. ETSU is going to continue to do and grow. And
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see it going down. I mean, our area continues to grow, so they're just going to continue to bring more and more people here, and hopefully our college will grow, and maybe they'll bring extra good basketball players and football players for our football team and basketball team at ETSU.
Yeah, basketball's having a little trouble this year, but they'll get better. Football was great last year. They won the conference
Southern Conference. Yeah, they were awesome. And so basketball, we're a rebuilding year, and
it's a rebuilding year.
Yeah, Desmond Oliver's doing a good job.
He'll do good. He's a good coach.
Yeah. Okay. What's something you wish you'd known when you began your career, or somebody who's thinking about, hey, I'd like to be a professor one day? What would you tell that person?
Oh my goodness, that's a tough question. Curiosity. I love to learn, and that's one of the reasons I'm still doing this at my age. I'm 77 now, but I just keep loving to learn, and I love the students, and it's fun to interact with them.
Well, and they love interacting with you, because I've talked to a bunch of them, and I'm always just super proud to say you're my dad, and they're like, oh yeah, he's the best. We enjoyed him the most out of biochemistry. So doing a good job.
One of the things I did with them, especially on Zoom, was I'd give them when I wasn't in charge of the class per se. We had 4 of us that were in charge of it at different times, and when I wasn't in charge, I would send them a quote for the day. I
get some of those.
Some encouraging quotes,
Mm-hmm.
and so it's good. I remember, and I have quotes on my emails too.
Yep.
I mean, I think the one right now I have is Dolly Parton quote. It says, "It's hard to be a diamond in a rhinestone world."
I heard another one that she said, it costs a lot to look this cheap. Oh man. Okay. So what do you see as something that we as husbands and fathers can do to be better leaders in America? What do you see?
Well, I think it's important for fathers to love their wives,
Mm-hmm.
and the mothers of their children. And it's important for mothers and wives to respect their husbands.
Mm-hmm.
Men won't respect, women won't love.
Yep.
And so you need to find a good church,
Mm-hmm.
get involved in the school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, be a PTA president, be
Mm-hmm.
a PTA, be there at the band supporter, be there for the this and that and all sorts of stuff that they need people involved in, and be involved in your children's school. And your children will do better in school if they know you really care.
Right.
And you don't have to be a genius to do that. You can just show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I see a lot of that. Yeah. And you guys did a great job modeling that for us. Thank you. So how can our listeners connect with you if they wanted to reach out to you and for more information on the med school or?
Okay. Well, my email address is very simple: davidj@etsu.edu.
That is pretty easy.
And you can get me on YouTube. I have a YouTube channel that's open to the public, as well as the one I do for the med students. And I have about 1,900 subscribers to that.
Nice.
So you can go to YouTube and search for David Johnson, PhD, or you can search you can find one of my videos that's got over 50,000 views, is the alpha helix and beta sheet. Basic protein structures,
which I've seen. It is really a neat model, and I don't understand it all, but it's really cool.
Yeah. Well, if you're studying biochemistry,
that's right.
You need to know it.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
So it's.
Well, I didn't know I had a YouTube influencer in front of me. So that's awesome. Yeah. Christian, he used to be like, I want to be a YouTube star someday. And I'm like, okay. So
well, you can do that.
You can do that. You just got to keep putting out content lots and lots of content.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I've got a church communion meditation I did several years ago about the molecules of life and how um, they're very simple. God created all life just using 4 uh, base codes of DNA, A, T, G, and C, and only 20 amino acids. So all life has all those things, all the plants, all the animals, everything, all insects, all viruses, bacteria.
It's all made up by those 4.
All the same things. And so God's very simple. And it was man that makes things too complicated in life. I mean, we try to make things, God gave Moses 10 commandments, and man then made hundreds and hundreds of laws. And then Jesus came and gave us only 2 commandments: love God and love your neighbor.
Yeah. So, and go make disciples.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what gets you fired up, Dad?
Continue to learn, and
learning every day.
Just learning and enjoying life. We're very, very blessed to have moved here and have good friends, and so I don't get as fired up as you do, but you get fired up probably Friday and every day.
I'm pretty fired. I think. I didn't want to get out of bed this morning. It was cold, and so I was headed to the gym, and I got fired up there. So that was good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things your mother and I do is support Family Promise, which works with homeless people to house them in our church. We were housing them in our churches, but now they're housing them in hotels, I think, but still taking care of them and working with them to get them out of homelessness. These are families with individual fathers with children, mothers with children. They have to have children in that program. The other thing is the 1 Acre Cafe. Your mother serves there every Tuesday, or most Tuesdays, and so that feeds the homeless as well and gives them a place to go earn a meal. So,
and then I think that's great. I think you have done a great job modeling, giving your life away, serving, being just a great Christian man. And thank you for that, being a great role model. And thanks for being my dad. Yeah. Thanks for spending some time with us today. Anything else you'd like to pass on before we wrap it up?
I like favorite quotes. I told you I gave quotes to people.
You do. Yes, sir.
And one of my favorites is, "It was pride that changed angels into devils. It is humility that makes man as angels," St. Augustine. And the other one is, "Judging others makes us blind, whereas love is illuminating. By judging others, we blind ourselves to our own evil and deny them the grace that we all are entitled to." Dietrich Bonhoeffer. So,
I love Bonhoeffer.
Bonhoeffer's quite good.
He is.
He was, I don't know if your listeners know, but he was a German theologian and was imprisoned by Hitler during most of World War II, and then executed just a couple of weeks before the end of the war. So, sad thing. So, but he was good man. He opposed the politicization of the church, which was the Nazis were trying to do that, trying to make the church a political instrument of their own, and he opposed that. And we need to keep politics out of our churches. So,
yes, I'll say. Yeah, keep the politicians out of. Well, bring them into the church so that we get to surround them and love them.
That's fine. I mean, what we don't. It's as our minister quite often says, Jesus did not come for the Democrats or the Republicans or the independents.
He came for us all. That's right. We all need Jesus. All right. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with me today and our listeners. I really just enjoyed hanging out with you. I'm glad that we've got this recorded forever. I can look back on it and learn about the med school. And if you got any questions you'd like to ask my dad, you can reach out to him or me, and we can definitely get you in touch with him. And thanks for listening. Till next time, I'm Colin Johnson with the Colin and Carly Group and Keller Williams Realty. If you want to sell your home or make a move to Johnson City or come to med school here, just give me a buzz. We would love to connect with you and help you however we can. Thanks, and have a great day.